The Calreth mercenary ship Silent Death drifted through the asteroid field like a shadow among shadows. Inside the cramped command center, three figures hunched over a holographic display showing a single human outpost. On the mining planet Zerion 7, the target file glowed, red in the center of their screen. Captain HFY clicked his mandibles as he studied the intelligence report. His species, the Calreth, had built their reputation as the galaxy's most feared assassins over 3 millennia. Their forearms moved with deadly precision as he manipulated the holographic controls, zooming in on their target. "One human," growled Vorth, the team's heavy weapons specialist. The massive Brugan's rocky hide gleamed under the ship's artificial lighting. "This seems beneath our skill level, Captain." The third member of their team, a whisper named Sylthie, phased slightly out of visibility before responding in her ethereal voice. "The payment suggests otherwise. 50 million credits for a single elimination. Someone wants this human dead very badly." HFY's compound eyes reflected the target's image. The human appeared unremarkable by galactic standards. Average height for his species, brown hair, weathered face that spoke of years under harsh suns. The file identified him as Marcus Chen, age 34, former Earth military, currently employed as a security chief for the Zerion Mining Consortium. The client specified no collateral damage, HFY noted, reading from the encrypted message. "Clean elimination only. They want it to look like an accident or natural causes." Vorth snorted, a sound like grinding stone. 50 million credits for making one soft-skinned human disappear. Easiest money we've ever made." Sylthie's form solidified as she leaned closer to the display. "The human military record is partially classified. That's unusual for a mining security position." "Irrelevant," HFY decided. "Humans are new to the galactic stage. Barely 2 centuries since first contact. They lack the evolutionary advantages of established species. No natural armor like Vorth's people. No phase abilities like Sylthie's race, no enhanced reflexes like mine. They're essentially hairless apes with delusions of grandeur." The Silent Death continued its approach to Zerion 7, its stealth systems rendering it invisible to the planet's primitive sensor arrays. The mining world rotated slowly below them, a barren rock scarred by decades of industrial extraction. Only 3 settlements dotted its surface, connected by maglev transport lines that carved geometric patterns across the dusty landscape. Chen's outpost sat isolated on a plateau overlooking the largest mining complex. According to their intelligence, he lived alone in the facility's command center, emerging only for supply runs and security patrols. The perfect target for professional killers. Approach vectors calculated, Sylthie reported, her fingers dancing over the navigation controls. The human follows a predictable routine. Daily patrol at 0800 local time, equipment checks at 1400 personal time in the evenings. HFY studied the topographical data. The outpost's location provided excellent sight lines across the mining complex, but it also left the human exposed. Multiple approaches were possible, from the rocky canyons to the east to the abandoned mine shafts that honeycomb the plateau's foundation. Standard assassination protocol, he decided. Sylthie will scout the target's movements and disable any automated defenses. Vorth will provide overwatch and heavy support if needed. I'll make the kill. The ship touched down in a crater 40 kilometers from the target location, hidden from orbital sensors by the natural depression's walls. The 3 assassins checked their equipment with professional efficiency. HFY's quad arms moved in perfect coordination as he assembled his plasma rifle, its components clicking together with mechanical precision. The weapon could punch through starship hull plating at 2 kilometers. Vorth strapped on his powered armor, the servos whining softly as the massive suit amplified his already considerable strength. His primary weapon, a rotary plasma cannon, could level small buildings. Backup armaments included guided micro-missiles and a personal shield generator, rated for small artillery strikes. Sylthie simply faded from view, her natural abilities enhanced by sophisticated camouflage technology. Only the faintest shimmer in the air marked her presence as she prepared her infiltration gear. "Remember," HFY addressed his team, "this is a precision operation. The client wants the human eliminated without drawing attention. We maintain our reputation for clean professional work." They moved across Zerion 7's hostile landscape like ghosts of death. The planet's twin suns cast harsh shadows among the rock formations, creating a maze of light and darkness that the assassins navigated with practiced ease. Their target remained blissfully unaware of the approaching storm. As they crested a ridge overlooking the human outpost, HFY raised his rifle scope to study their prey. Marcus Chen stood on the facility's observation deck, seemingly staring out at the mining complex below. Even at this distance, something about the human's posture struck the Calreth captain as odd. The way he held himself, the careful positioning that kept his back protected while maintaining clear sight lines in all directions. Professional paranoia, HFY muttered to himself. The human has some training, Silthy's voice whispered through their comm system. Defensive measures are more sophisticated than expected. Motion sensors, automated turrets, and what appears to be a military-grade early warning system. Can you bypass them? HFY asked. Given time, yes. But this level of security is unusual for a mining operation. Vorth's rumbling voice joined the conversation. The human's daily routine shows tactical awareness. He varies his timing, changes routes, never presents a pattern that would allow easy targeting. For the first time since accepting the contract, HFY felt a whisper of uncertainty. The target file had mentioned military service, but the defensive preparation suggested something more significant than standard colonial security training. Maintain position, he ordered. Continue surveillance. I want a complete picture of this human's capabilities before we proceed. As Zarian 7's twin suns began their descent toward the horizon, painting the barren landscape in shades of orange and red, the three assassins settled in to watch their prey. None of them suspected that their careful observation was being observed in return, or that the unremarkable human in the outpost below was already calculating range, wind speed, and the precise trajectory needed to turn hunters into hunted. The galaxy's most feared assassins had never encountered a human sniper before. They were about to learn why that was a fatal oversight. Marcus Chen had been expecting company. For 3 days, the first sign came from the orbital sensors he'd quietly installed in the asteroid field, a brief gravity anomaly that registered on his modified equipment but would have been invisible to standard mining scanners. Something large had passed through the outer system, running silent and dark. The second sign was the flock of native rock birds that had been disturbed from their roosts in the eastern canyons. They'd scattered in a pattern that suggested something moving carefully through their territory, something that knew how to avoid direct detection, but couldn't account for every environmental factor. The third sign was his own instincts, honed by 15 years of military service that his personnel file deliberately understated. The crawling sensation between his shoulder blades that meant someone was watching him through a scope. Marcus stood on the observation deck of his outpost, apparently absorbed in checking the mining complex's daily operations. In reality, his enhanced tactical display, a gift from his former unit, was painting a detailed picture of potential threat vectors. 3 heat signatures in the eastern ridgeline, positioned with the kind of professional spacing that suggested military training. Professional killers, most likely. He touched the comm unit discreetly hidden in his collar. "Aria, status report." The AI's voice whispered directly into his auditory nerve through a bone conduction implant. Monitoring multiple hostile signatures. Equipment analysis suggests off-world technology, military grade. Estimated threat level, extreme. Time since infiltration began? Approximately 4 hours. They've been observing your routine, studying defensive measures. Professional methodology indicates experienced operators. Marcus nodded slightly, maintaining his casual posture while his mind raced through tactical options. His outpost wasn't just a mining security station. It was a carefully constructed fortress that had taken him 2 years to perfect. Every system, every sensor, every defensive measure had been designed with one purpose: to turn his isolated position into an impregnable sniper's nest. The mining consortium believed they'd hired a competent security chief. They had no idea they'd actually recruited Ghost 7, the most decorated sniper in the human colonial Marine Corps' history. His official record showed an honorable discharge after 12 years of service. His classified record told a different story: 317 confirmed eliminations across 14 worlds, including the legendary shot that had ended the Proxima Rebellion, with a single bullet fired from 17 kilometers away. Aria, begin defensive protocol Omega, full spectrum countermeasures. Acknowledged. Activating stealth systems. Around the outpost, carefully concealed projectors began broadcasting false heat signatures and electromagnetic phantoms. To anyone watching from a distance, it would appear that Chen was following his normal routine, moving between different sections of the facility, checking equipment, preparing for the evening shift change that brought mining personnel to the complex below. In reality, Marcus was descending into the outpost's hidden sublevel, a reinforced chamber that served as his primary operations center. The walls were lined with screens showing feeds from dozens of concealed cameras positioned throughout the surrounding terrain. His weapons locker held equipment that would have impressed a Marine Corps armorer: precision rifles capable of engaging targets at extreme range, adaptive camouflage gear, and ammunition designed to defeat any known form of body armor. He selected his primary weapon, a custom-built electromagnetic rifle that fired ferrous projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. The weapon had no traditional muzzle flash, made virtually no sound, and could penetrate most personal armor systems at ranges exceeding 20 kilometers. Its scope was linked directly to his neural interface, providing targeting information that appeared in his visual field like a ghostly overlay. Target analysis complete, Area reported. 3 hostiles confirmed. Designation Alpha is positioned at bearing 047, range 4.2 kilometers. Calreth physiology detected. 4-armed species, enhanced reflexes, natural armor plating. Equipped with plasma rifle, military grade. Marcus settled into his firing position, the rifle's stock molding to his shoulder as the weapon's targeting system interfaced with his implants. Through the scope, he could see the Calreth assassin clearly despite the alien's attempts at concealment. The creature's compound eyes reflected starlight as it studied the outpost, unaware that it had become the hunted rather than the hunter. Designation Beta, bearing 112, range 4.7 kilometers. Bruggen physiology, heavily armored powered exoskeleton detected. Rotary plasma cannon and missile systems. Threat level, high explosive capability. The second target was a massive creature that looked like a walking boulder fitted with enough firepower to level a city block. Its position provided overwatch for the primary assassin, while maintaining enough distance to avoid return fire from conventional weapons. Unfortunately for the aliens, Marcus Chen didn't use conventional weapons. Designation Gamma, location variable. Whisper species detected. Natural phase-shifting abilities enhanced by technological camouflage. Currently infiltrating outer perimeter. Threat level, stealth elimination specialist. This was the dangerous one. Marcus had encountered Whispers during the Outer Rim campaign, and their ability to phase in and out of normal space made them nearly impossible to target with standard weapons. Nearly impossible, but not completely impossible if you understood the quantum mechanics involved in their abilities. Area. Activate quantum resonance tracking. Begin charging the Q rifle. Confirmed. Quantum tracking active. Q rifle charge sequence initiated. Estimated ready time 3 minutes. Marcus shifted to a secondary position, moving through concealed passages within the outpost's structure. His movements were tracked by the false signature generators, maintaining the illusion that he was simply going about his evening routine. The alien assassins would be growing impatient soon, looking for the right moment to strike. Through his enhanced vision, he watched the Calreth captain make subtle hand gestures to coordinate his team. Professional signals indicating these weren't random mercenaries but experienced military operators. Someone had paid premium rates for his elimination, which meant someone knew exactly who Marcus Chen really was. The question was whether they understood what they were dealing with. His targeting computer began painting firing solutions for all 3 aliens simultaneously. The electromagnetic rifle could engage the primary target, while automated defensive systems would handle the heavy weapons specialist. The Whisper would require personal attention with specialized equipment, but Marcus had been preparing for that possibility since his first day on Zarian 7. Sir, Arya's voice carried a note of digital concern. Intercepted communications suggest these are Calreth Elite Guard, not common mercenaries. Historical records indicate they have never failed to complete a contract. Marcus smiled grimly as he watched the alien captain adjust his weapon's targeting scope. Arya, update the records. Their perfect mission success rate is about to become history. The twin suns of Zarian 7 touched the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple. In the growing twilight, 3 of the galaxy's most feared assassins prepared to eliminate what they believed was a simple human security guard. They were about to discover that humans had their own definition of the word assassin. Captain HFY's compound eyes tracked the human's movements through his rifle scope, as false twilight painted the mining complex in shades of amber and gold. After 6 hours of observation, he was beginning to appreciate the tactical challenges this elimination would present. The human security measures were far more sophisticated than anything in their intelligence briefing. "Silthy, report status," he whispered into his comm unit. The whisper's ethereal voice materialized in his ear. "Perimeter infiltration complete. Automated defenses are more extensive than anticipated. Motion tracking systems, seismic sensors, and something I cannot identify, possibly quantum-based detection arrays." HFY's mandibles clicked with irritation. Quantum detection technology was military grade, far beyond what any mining operation should possess. "Can you bypass them?" "Working on it. Give me another 20 minutes. Forth's rumbling voice joined the conversation. "Target has been following predictable patterns, but something feels wrong. Too predictable. Like he wants us to think we understand his routine." The Calreth captain studied the human figure moving through the outpost's observation deck. After hours of surveillance, he had to admit the Bruggen might be right. Professional instincts honed over decades of successful kills were sending warning signals. "Maintain positions. We proceed as planned once Silthy neutralizes the defensive systems." What none of the assassins realized was that their every move had been tracked since the moment they'd left their ship. Marcus Chen's sensor network extended far beyond the outpost itself, incorporating everything from seismic detectors that could identify footsteps at kilometer distances to atmospheric analyzers that detected foreign pheromones and exhaled gases. In his underground operations center, Marcus watched 3 separate screens showing each alien assassin in perfect detail. Aria's analysis painted threat assessments in real time, calculating weapon capabilities, movement patterns, and probable tactical approaches. "Q rifle charge complete," the AI reported. Quantum resonance tracking locked onto whisper target despite phase-shifting attempts. "Electromagnetic rifle ready for long-range engagement. Defensive turrets armed and targeted." Marcus studied the tactical display with professional detachment. 3 of the galaxy's deadliest killers had come to eliminate him, but they were operating under a fundamental misunderstanding of human capabilities. They saw humans as the galaxy's youngest species, soft, weak, lacking the natural advantages that evolution had granted older races. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest advantage wasn't biological enhancement or natural armor. It was the ability to create tools that turned any environment into a weapon. "Target priority," Marcus murmured, working through the engagement sequence. "Whisper first, can't track her once she goes fully intangible. Heavy weapons second. Explosive threat to infrastructure. Team leader last, most experienced, likely to adapt quickly." His fingers moved across the control interface with practiced precision. The outpost around him began its transformation from mining station to fortress. Blast shutters slid into place, concealing the building's true nature. Hidden weapons platforms rose from concealed positions in the surrounding rock formations. What had appeared to be simple mining equipment revealed itself as carefully camouflaged military hardware. "Aria, begin psychological warfare protocol. Let them know they're not hunting an ordinary human." Acknowledged. Broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Throughout the asteroid field and surrounding space, every communication device within range suddenly received the same message. It was a simple data packet, a military service record that had been classified at the highest levels of human intelligence. Ghost 7. 317 confirmed eliminations. Longest recorded shot 17.3 kilometers. Notable operations: Proxima Rebellion, Operation Ending Snipe. Kepler Station Siege, 47 eliminations, single engagement. Outer Rim Pacification classified. Current status: active. HFY's plasma rifle nearly slipped from his grip as the information flooded his tactical display. "By the void," he whispered, staring at numbers that seemed impossible. 317 confirmed kills? No wonder someone was paying 50 million credits for this human's elimination. "Captain," Vorth's voice carried uncharacteristic tension. "Are we reading this correctly? 17-kilometer shot? That's beyond the range of most starship weapons." Silthy's form flickered back into partial visibility as shock disrupted her concentration. "This changes everything. We're not hunting a security guard. We're trying to kill a legend. The Calreth captain forced himself to focus despite the revelation. They were professionals among the best in the galaxy. So what if the human had an impressive service record? He was still just one being against 3 experienced killers. Maintain the mission, Zexai ordered, though his voice carried less confidence than before. He's isolated, outnumbered, and we have the advantage of surprise. Actually, a new voice said pleasantly, you really don't. The communication had come from everywhere at once, their comms, their ship systems, even the emergency channels built into their equipment. The voice was calm, conversational, as if discussing the weather rather than impending violence. Good evening, Captain Zexai, Vorth, and Silthi. I do apologize for the interruption, but I felt we should be properly introduced before we begin. My name is Marcus Chen, though my former colleagues knew me by a different designation. Zexai's compound eyes darted across his sensor displays, searching for the transmission source. The signal was coming from everywhere and nowhere, somehow bypassing every security protocol his equipment possessed. I've been watching you since you entered the system, the human continued. Quite impressive approach, actually. Very professional. I particularly admired your sensor discipline during the approach to Zerion 7. Under normal circumstances, you might have remained undetected until it was too late. Vorth was frantically checking his weapons systems, trying to identify threats while the pleasant voice continued its one-sided conversation. Unfortunately for you, these aren't normal circumstances. You see, I've spent the last 2 years turning this entire plateau into what my people call a killing field. Every rock, every shadow, every apparent piece of mining equipment has been positioned with one purpose: to ensure that anyone foolish enough to threaten me dies very, very quickly. Silthi's form began to fade as she activated full phase shift, but the human's voice followed her even into the quantum realm. Oh, Silthi, don't bother with the phase shifting. I have quantum resonance tracking that can follow you through 17 different dimensional phases. Your people's natural abilities are impressive, but human technology tends to find ways around natural advantages. The whisper froze, realizing that her greatest defensive capability had been neutralized. Now then, Marcus continued, his tone never losing its conversational quality, I'm going to give you one opportunity to leave my world alive. You have 30 seconds to return to your ship and depart the system. After that, I'm afraid I'll have to demonstrate why the human colonial marines gave me the designation Ghost 7. Zexai gripped his plasma rifle tighter, professional pride warring with tactical reality. They were the best assassins in the galaxy. They didn't retreat from mere humans. 15 seconds, the voice announced pleasantly. The Calreth captain made his decision. He swung his rifle toward the outpost and prepared to take the shot that would eliminate their target and restore their professional reputation. He never saw the electromagnetic projectile that removed his head with surgical precision. The electromagnetic projectile traveled the 4.2 kilometers between Marcus Chen's position and Captain Zexai's skull in 0.003 seconds. The Calreth assassin's compound eyes registered the muzzle flash from the outpost an instant before the ferrous slug, moving at 12% of light speed, passed through his cranial armor as if it were tissue paper. Zexai's body toppled backward off the ridge, his plasma rifle clattering among the rocks as his forearms went limp. The shot had been placed with mathematical precision. Center mass on the brain case, instant death, no possibility of return fire. Time expired, Marcus announced calmly through the comm system. Zexai has been eliminated. Vorth, Silthi, you now have a choice. Leave immediately or join your captain. Vorth roared with rage and grief, his massive frame rising from concealment as the rotary plasma cannon spun up to firing speed. The Brugan's powered armor amplified his natural strength as he lifted the heavy weapon, its multiple barrels beginning to glow with contained energy. I'll level your entire facility, human. Vorth bellowed, his voice carrying across the plateau like thunder. You killed my captain. The first volley of plasma bolts screamed toward the outpost at light speed, each shot carrying enough energy to vaporize a small building. They struck the facility's walls and observation deck in brilliant explosions of superheated gas and molten rock. Where Marcus Chen had been standing moments before, nothing remained but a crater of fused stone. Vorth continued firing, walking his shots across the outpost structure with methodical precision. The building's walls cracked and crumbled under the assault, revealing the reinforced inner structure beneath. Still he fired, pouring round after round into the facility until his weapon's cooling systems triggered an automatic pause. "Impressive firepower," Marcus's voice observed, still maddeningly calm despite the devastation. "Those plasma bolts pack quite a punch. Unfortunately, you're shooting at decoys." Vorth's massive head swiveled, searching for the source of the transmission. His sensor suite painted the surrounding terrain in tactical overlays, hunting for heat signatures, electromagnetic emissions, anything that might reveal the human's position. "You see, Vorth, the thing about being a sniper is that misdirection is just as important as marksmanship. You think you've been watching me for the past 6 hours, but what you've actually been observing are sophisticated holograms and heat projectors. I haven't been in the main facility since before your ship entered the system." The Bruggen's roar of frustration echoed across the plateau as he realized he'd been firing at phantoms. His tactical training warred with emotional rage as he tried to process the tactical situation. A single human had outmaneuvered 3 of the galaxy's most experienced killers using nothing but superior preparation and technology. "Area," Marcus whispered into his neural comm. "Target painted. Authorization for heavy countermeasures. Confirmed. Orbital kinetic strike ready." High above Xerion 7, one of the facility's communication satellites adjusted its position with a brief burst from its maneuvering thrusters. The device had been masquerading as routine mining equipment for 2 years, but its true purpose was far more destructive. Inside its armored shell, a tungsten rod weighing 50 kilograms hung ready in an electromagnetic launcher. "Vorth," Marcus continued, "I'm going to give you one last chance. Drop your weapons and surrender. Your armor's power signature is painting you like a beacon, and I have assets in position that can reach you anywhere on this planet." The Bruggen assassin responded by firing his micro-missiles, sending a dozen guided projectiles screaming toward every structure in the mining complex. The warheads detonated in sequence, filling the air with smoke and debris as they searched for their elusive target. Final warning ignored. Initiating orbital strike. The tungsten rod dropped from orbit like the fist of an angry god, accelerated by gravity and electromagnetic propulsion until it struck the plateau at 25 kilometers per second. The kinetic energy release was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon, vaporizing Vorth and his powered armor in a sphere of superheated plasma. The shockwave cracked the plateau's foundation and sent seismic tremors rippling through the mining complex. When the dust settled, nothing remained of the Bruggen except a perfectly circular crater filled with cooling glass. "2 down," Marcus observed, his voice now carrying an edge of cold professionalism. "Silthy, you're the last one. I know you're still here. Quantum tracking shows you've been trying to infiltrate my position for the past 10 minutes. The Whisper had indeed been moving closer, using her phase-shifting abilities to slip through solid rock as she approached the outpost's hidden sublevel. Her natural abilities allowed her to exist partially outside normal space-time, making her effectively invisible to conventional sensors while she moved through obstacles like a ghost. But Marcus Chen had encountered Whispers before during the Outer Rim campaign, and he'd learned that their phase-shifting had limitations. They couldn't remain intangible indefinitely, and the energy expenditure increased exponentially with distance and duration. The thing about quantum mechanics, Silthy, is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every time you phase shift, you create quantum echoes in normal space. My sensors have been tracking those echoes since you started moving." Silthy froze in the middle of a rock wall. Her ethereal form caught between dimensions as she realized the human could somehow follow her movements, despite her supernatural abilities. No other species in the galaxy had developed technology capable of tracking Whispers through phase shift. "You're currently 40 meters below ground level, moving through the geological stratum toward my position. You've been draining your energy reserves for the past hour, and your phase coherence is beginning to destabilize. You can't maintain intangibility much longer." The Whisper made a desperate decision, forcing herself to become fully solid as she prepared to sprint the remaining distance to her target. Her natural form flickered into visibility as she emerged from the rock wall, weapons raised and ready to fire. She found herself staring down the barrel of Marcus's Q rifle, the quantum-tuned weapon already locked onto her position. At this range, even a Whisper's supernatural reflexes couldn't dodge the exotic particles that would disrupt her cellular cohesion at the subatomic level. "Hello, Silthy," Marcus said quietly, his enhanced vision showing him every detail of the alien assassin's fear-widened eyes. "You came a long way to kill me. I hope the pay was worth it." For the first time in her long career as a professional killer, Sylthie found herself completely outmatched. The human hadn't just anticipated their assault, he'd orchestrated it, allowing them to reveal their capabilities before systematically eliminating them with surgical precision. "Please," she whispered, her ethereal voice barely audible. "We were hired. It wasn't personal." Marcus studied her through his rifle scope, considering. After a long moment, he lowered the weapon slightly. "Who hired you?" The question hung in the air between predator and prey, carrying implications that would reshape the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. Someone had paid 50 million credits to eliminate Ghost 7, and Marcus Chen intended to find out who was foolish enough to put a price on his head. The hunt was just beginning. Sylthie's ethereal form trembled as she stared into the barrel of the Q rifle. Every instinct screamed at her to phase shift and flee, but she knew the human's quantum tracking would follow her through any dimensional barrier. For the first time in her centuries-long career as an assassin, she was completely at someone else's mercy. "The contract came through the Nexus," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the underground chamber. "Anonymous client, payment in untraceable credit chips, standard procedure for high-value eliminations." Marcus kept the rifle trained on her while his neural interface processed the information. The Nexus was the galaxy's premier black market for illegal services. Assassinations, smuggling, information brokering. If someone had gone through that channel, they had serious resources and the knowledge to stay hidden. "How much did they tell you about me?" he asked, his tone conversational despite the weapon between them. "Nothing. The file said human security chief, former military, basic threat assessment showed standard colonial defenses." Sylthie's form flickered as her phase control wavered under stress. "We've eliminated hundreds of targets. Human colonies are considered easy assignments. That was your mistake. You assumed all humans are the same." Marcus stepped back slightly, though the Q rifle remained pointed at the Whisper's center mass. Through his enhanced vision, he could see her energy patterns fluctuating. Exhaustion from prolonged phase shifting combined with fear was taking its toll on her supernatural abilities. "Area," he said quietly. "Scan for tracking devices, implants, anything that might allow remote monitoring. Scanning complete. Subject has a standard Nexus contractor implant. Neural interface for mission updates and payment processing. Also detecting a microtransmitter in her equipment harness, possibly for team coordination." Marcus nodded grimly. "Disable both. I don't want our conversation reaching the wrong ears." Sylthie jerked as electromagnetic pulses from hidden emitters fried the devices in her gear. The brief surge of energy caused her to flicker between dimensions involuntarily, her natural form becoming unstable. "Now then," Marcus continued, "let's discuss your future. You have two choices. Option 1, I pull this trigger and you join your teammates in whatever afterlife Whispers believe in. Option 2, you help me track down whoever put the contract on my head." The alien assassin's eyes, large, multifaceted organs adapted for seeing across multiple dimensional phases, studied the human with newfound respect. She'd heard stories about human unpredictability, but experiencing it firsthand was different. Most species would have simply killed her or demanded ransom. This one was thinking strategically. "Why would you trust me?" she asked. "I don't. But you've seen what happens to people who try to kill me. Right now, cooperation is your only path to survival." Sylthie's form solidified completely as she made her decision. Staying in phase shift was becoming impossible anyway. The energy expenditure had drained her reserves to dangerous levels. "What do you need to know?" "Everything. How you were contacted, payment methods, mission parameters, and any other contracts that might be related to targeting humans in this sector." The Whisper's natural ability to access quantum information streams made her an excellent intelligence gatherer when she wasn't trying to kill people. Over the next hour, she provided Marcus with a detailed breakdown of the Nexus contract system, recent missions targeting human colonies, and the growing interest among various galactic factions in eliminating key human personnel. "There's been a pattern," she admitted reluctantly. "Over the past 6 months, someone has been placing contracts on human military veterans, colonial administrators, and key infrastructure personnel. Always anonymous, always high-paying. Your elimination was the highest value contract we'd seen. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the underground chamber's temperature. If someone was systematically targeting human leadership across multiple colonies, this wasn't just personal, it was strategic warfare disguised as random assassination. Area. Cross-reference Silthy's information with intelligence databases. Look for patterns in recent attacks on human installations. Processing. Correlation confirmed. 17 human colonies have reported assassinations or disappearances of key personnel in the past 6 months. Patterns suggest coordinated campaign rather than random criminal activity. The tactical implications were staggering. Humanity was still new to the galactic stage, with scattered colonies defended by small military detachments and civilian security forces. If someone was eliminating experienced personnel systematically, they could cripple human expansion without triggering a full-scale military response. Who benefits from weakening human colonies? Marcus asked. Silthy's ethereal voice carried concern that seemed genuine. Several possibilities. The hegemony views human expansion as a threat to established trade routes. The Convergence considers your species too chaotic for galactic civilization. The Syndicate profits from instability and might be creating conflict to increase demand for their services. Each faction represented billions of beings with the resources to fund a shadow war against humanity. Tracking down the real culprit would require more than superior marksmanship. It would need intelligence gathering on a galactic scale. Can you access Nexus records? Marcus asked. Not directly. The system is compartmentalized for security, but she hesitated. There might be another way. The payment for your elimination was supposed to be transferred upon confirmation of death. If we fake your assassination, I could trace the credit transfer back to its source. Marcus studied the alien assassin thoughtfully. Using her to infiltrate the same network that had tried to kill him was dangerous, but it might be the only way to identify the real enemy. Explain the process. I return to my ship, transmit falsified biometric data confirming your death, and wait for payment authorization. During the transfer, I can trace the financial routing back through multiple shell accounts to identify the original source. And what's to stop you from simply leaving once you're back on your ship? Silthy's form flickered with what might have been amusement. Because whoever hired us will expect a full mission report. If I disappear, they'll know something went wrong and send more killers. If I fake your death without permission, they'll put a contract on me next. The logic was sound, but Marcus had survived 15 years of military service by never fully trusting anyone. ARIA analysis of proposal? Tactically viable. However, recommend additional security measures. Suggest placing tracking nanobots in subject's bloodstream and maintaining orbital surveillance of her ship. Agreed. Marcus looked at Silthy directly. You help me identify who's targeting human colonies, and I'll make sure you disappear completely after this is over. New identity, clean records, enough credits to start fresh somewhere far from here. And if I refuse? Marcus gestured with the Q rifle toward the crater where Vorth had been vaporized. Then you can discuss philosophy with your former teammates. Silthy nodded slowly, understanding that she'd found herself caught between two deadly forces. The mysterious client who'd hired her team, and the human sniper who'd just demonstrated why Earth's military had legends built around individual soldiers. I accept your terms, she said quietly. Excellent. Area, prepare the nanobots and bring the fabrication unit online. We're going to need convincing evidence of my death. As Marcus began planning the deception that would expose his would-be killers, neither he nor Silthy realized they were being watched by sensors far more sophisticated than anything the Nexus possessed. Deep in space, observers who had been monitoring human expansion for decades noted the failure of the assassination attempt with great interest. The real war was about to begin. The fabrication unit hummed quietly in Marcus's workshop as it assembled synthetic tissue samples, complete with his DNA markers and biochemical signatures. Creating convincing evidence of death required attention to detail that most people never considered. Not just physical remains, but digital footprints, biometric recordings, and environmental traces that would satisfy even sophisticated analysis. Silthy watched the process with professional interest, her ethereal form flickering as she observed human technology that rivaled anything in Nexus archives. Your people are more advanced than galactic intelligence suggests, she commented. That's intentional, Marcus replied, carefully programming the nanobots that would monitor her vital signs and location. Humanity learned early that survival often depends on others underestimating your capabilities. The tracking devices were microscopic marvels of engineering, designed to remain undetectable while transmitting position data across interstellar distances. Once introduced into Silthy's bloodstream, they would allow Marcus to monitor her activities even if she traveled to the far side of the galaxy. These will dissolve harmlessly after 30 days, he explained as he prepared the injection system. Cooperate fully, help me identify the real enemy, and they'll be gone before you know it. Try to betray me, and I'll know your location within a meter anywhere in known space. The Whisper accepted the injection without protest, understanding that trust was a luxury neither of them could afford. The transmission to confirm your death will need to be convincing. Nexus verification protocols are quite sophisticated. Marcus gestured toward the fabrication unit's output. Tissue samples, bone fragments, and synthetic blood that would pass even detailed forensic analysis. Arya has been analyzing galactic verification standards. This evidence will satisfy any reasonable examination. What about the environmental damage? My teammates' deaths left rather obvious traces. That actually helps our story. We'll claim you barely escaped after HFY and Vorth triggered my defensive systems. The crater where Vorth died will be evidence of the facility's destruction, taking me with it. They spent the next several hours crafting a detailed deception. Marcus's apparent death would be the result of a catastrophic explosion that destroyed both him and most of the outpost, triggered when the assassins breached his final defensive perimeter. Silthy would have escaped with wounds that prevented immediate communication. Explaining the delay in her report, "Area," Marcus said as they finalized the plan. "Prepare quantum communication array for covert monitoring. I want to track every byte of data that passes through Silthy's transmissions. Array configured for passive interception. Will monitor all frequencies and quantum channels without detectable signature." Silthy returned to her team's ship under cover of false darkness, moving through terrain that Marcus's sensors painted in perfect detail. The silent death had remained hidden in its crater, automated systems maintaining minimal power while awaiting the team's return. Inside the vessel's communication center, she began crafting the false mission report with meticulous care. Every detail had to be perfect, from the timing of the engagement to the forensic evidence that supported Marcus's apparent death. Mission Control. This is Silthy of Team Designation Shadow 3. Reporting mission completion with complications. The response came through quantum encryption from somewhere deep in galactic space. "Shadow 3, you are 12 hours past scheduled communication window." Explain delay. Target elimination successful, but mission parameters were significantly understated. Subject was not standard security personnel, but former military specialist with enhanced defensive capabilities. Lost both team members in final engagement. Marcus monitored the exchange through Aria's quantum interception array, noting the communication protocols and tracing the signal routing through multiple relay stations. Whoever was receiving these reports had access to military-grade communication, infrastructure, specify losses and confirmation of elimination. Silthy transmitted the fabricated evidence, biometric data, tissue samples, and environmental recordings that painted a convincing picture of Marcus's death in a defensive explosion. Captain HFY eliminated by electromagnetic projectile, estimated range 4 kilometers. Vorth eliminated by orbital kinetic strike. Target eliminated by triggered explosive charges during final assault. Confirming DNA match on recovered tissue samples. The pause before response lasted nearly 10 minutes, suggesting detailed analysis of the transmitted evidence. When the communication resumed, a different voice spoke, older, carrying authority that suggested high-ranking leadership. "Shadow 3, your report has been verified. Payment authorization confirmed. However, new intelligence suggests additional human assets may require elimination. Stand by for updated target assignments." Marcus felt cold satisfaction as the trap closed around his enemies. They weren't just targeting him personally. This was part of a larger campaign against human expansion. The updated assignments would reveal the scope of their plans. Transmitting priority target list. These individuals have been identified as key threats to galactic stability. Elimination priority extreme. The data stream that followed made Marcus's blood freeze. 57 names, all human, all military veterans or colonial administrators scattered across 23 different worlds. Colony governors, former Marine officers, infrastructure specialists, even civilian scientists whose research might give humanity strategic advantages. One name on the list made his hands clench into fists: Sarah Mitchell, his former commanding officer and the woman who'd recommended him for the Ghost program. She was currently serving as military advisor to the Kepler colony, completely unaware that she'd been marked for death. ARIA, analysis of target list, cross-reference with human colonial infrastructure. Processing. Target elimination would result in approximately 40% degradation of human colonial defense capabilities. Also, significant disruption to scientific research, industrial development, and political leadership. Pattern suggests systematic dismantling of human expansion capability. The scope of the conspiracy was staggering. This wasn't random terrorism or isolated political assassination, it was strategic. Warfare designed to cripple humanity's ability to expand beyond Earth, without triggering open conflict that might unite human forces. Payment. Confirmed. The authoritative voice continued. Shadow 3, proceed to Kepler colony for next assignment. Target: Sarah Mitchell, Colonial Military Advisor. Timeline: 14 days. Silthy's voice carried convincing weariness as she responded. Understood. Proceeding to Kepler system. Shadow 3 out. The communication channel closed, leaving Marcus with the quantum traces he needed to track the signal's origin. Aria was already analyzing the routing data, following the digital breadcrumbs through a maze of relay stations and shell corporations. Initial trace complete, the AI reported. Signal originates from hegemony space, but routing suggests deliberate misdirection. True source appears to be interesting. Explain. The communication infrastructure matches patterns associated with Nexus operations, but the encryption protocols and command authority suggest government-level resources. Conclusion: the Nexus is being used as a front for state-sponsored activity. Marcus stared at the target list, understanding finally dawning. Someone in the established galactic government was using the criminal underground to wage shadow war against humanity, eliminating key personnel to prevent human colonies from becoming too powerful or independent. Can we identify the specific government faction? Working on it. Will require additional data from Silthy's next mission contact. The Whisper assassin ship powered up and began its journey toward Kepler colony, carrying with her the nanobots that would allow Marcus to track every move. But she was also carrying something else. Information that could expose a conspiracy reaching to the highest levels of galactic government. Aria, prepare long-range communication array. I need to contact Colonial Defense Command. Sir, that will reveal your survival to unknown parties. Marcus checked his weapons and began planning his own journey to Kepler colony. Sarah Mitchell had saved his life more than once during the Outer Rim campaign. Now it was his turn to return the favor. Sometimes, Aria, the best way to protect a secret is to make it irrelevant. It's time for Ghost 7 to come out of retirement. The shadow war against humanity was about to become very public and very deadly. Marcus Chen stood in the command center of his personal starship Retribution, watching Kepler colony grow larger through the main viewport. The vessel was officially listed as a modified cargo hauler in colonial shipping manifests, but its true nature was far more dangerous. Hidden beneath civilian plating lay military-grade armor, weapons systems that could engage capital ships, and sensor arrays capable of tracking targets across multiple star systems. Quantum trace analysis complete, Aria announced through the ship's communication system. Signal origin confirmed. Hegemony Intelligence Division, specifically the Department of Species Management. Authorization codes match those used for classified xenological research projects. The revelation confirmed Marcus's worst suspicions. The hegemony wasn't just using criminals to eliminate human personnel. It was conducting systematic research on humanity's military capabilities while simultaneously trying to cripple them. They viewed humans as specimens to be studied and controlled rather than equals to be negotiated with. Status on Silthy's infiltration: subject has arrived at Kepler colony and begun surveillance of target Sarah Mitchell. Nanobots report stable vital signs and no indication of betrayal. She is following mission parameters exactly. Through the quantum link, Marcus could observe everything the Whisper assassin experienced. Kepler colony was one of humanity's most successful frontier settlements. A thriving community of nearly 50,000 people built around advanced manufacturing and scientific research. Sarah Mitchell served as military advisor to the colonial government. But her real value was as one of the few humans who understood the strategic implications of humanity's rapid expansion. Colonel Mitchell's daily routine shows excellent security awareness, Marcus noted as he watched surveillance feeds. Professional habits don't die easily. His former commanding officer had lost none of her tactical instincts despite transitioning to civilian advisory roles. She varied her routes, maintained situational awareness, and never presented predictable patterns that would allow easy targeting. Under normal circumstances, eliminating her would require the kind of sophisticated operation that the failed assassination team on Zerion 7 had attempted, but these weren't normal circumstances. Area: begin transmission to Colonial Defense Command. Use Ghost authorization codes. Sir, those codes will trigger immediate response from multiple intelligence agencies. Your survival will become known to significant numbers of personnel. That's the point. The Shadow War ends today. The quantum transmission that followed sent shockwaves through human military command structures across a dozen star systems. Ghost 7, officially listed as killed in action, was not only alive but actively engaged in counterintelligence operations against galactic government forces. Within hours, the response came directly from Admiral Hayes, commander of Colonial Defense Forces. Ghost 7, confirm identity and status immediately. Marcus activated the ship's main communication array, knowing that his words would be recorded and analyzed by intelligence services across known space. Admiral, this is Marcus Chen. Designation Ghost 7. I am alive, operational, and currently engaged in exposing a hegemony-sponsored assassination campaign against human colonial leadership. Explain your situation, soldier. Over the next 30 minutes, Marcus provided a complete briefing on the events at Zerion 7, Silthi's cooperation, and the intelligence they'd gathered about systematic targeting of human personnel. The evidence was overwhelming. The hegemony was waging undeclared war against humanity using criminal proxies. Orders, sir, Marcus concluded. Admiral Hayes' voice carried the weight of command decisions that would reshape galactic politics. Ghost 7, you are hereby reactivated for special operations. Primary mission: expose hegemony involvement and eliminate the threat to Colonel Mitchell. Secondary mission: gather evidence suitable for presentation to the Galactic Council. Understood, Admiral. Beginning operation immediately. Marcus shifted his ship's position to optimal overwatch of Kepler Colony, while Silthi continued her surveillance of Sarah Mitchell. The Whisper assassin remained unaware that her every move was being tracked, and that her mission had become part of a larger counterintelligence operation. Target acquired. Silthi reported through her communication array. Colonel Mitchell will be attending the quarterly Colonial Council meeting tomorrow. Security will be minimal, standard civilian protection only. The response from her hegemony handlers came with disturbing speed. Confirmed. Eliminate target during council meeting. Make it appear to be terrorist attack by indigenous resistance movement. Additional casualties acceptable. Marcus felt cold rage building as he realized the full scope of their enemy's plans. They weren't just trying to kill Sarah. They wanted to frame the local population and trigger a conflict that would destabilize the entire colony. Area. Record everything. This evidence goes directly to the Galactic Council. All communications logged and verified. Evidence package prepared for immediate transmission. As false dawn painted Kepler Colony's skyline in shades of amber and gold, Marcus prepared for the most important shot of his career. Not the longest or most technically challenging, but the one that would expose a conspiracy reaching to the highest levels of galactic government. Silthi moved into position overlooking the Colonial Council building, her equipment configured to make the assassination appear to be the work of local insurgents. She had no idea that Ghost 7 was watching her through a rifle scope from a position 3 kilometers away. Colonel Mitchell entering the building, she reported, taking the shot in 30 seconds. Marcus aligned his targeting system with surgical precision. The electromagnetic rifle hummed with contained energy, as exotic particles prepared to travel faster than conventional weapons could dream of moving. But his target wasn't Sarah Mitchell. Silthi, he said quietly into his communication array. I want you to know that you kept your end of the bargain. The nanobots in your bloodstream have an antidote. You'll find it in your ship's medical bay. The Whisper assassin froze as she realized the implications. You've been watching the entire time, every second. Your mission was never to kill Colonel Mitchell. It was to expose the people who wanted her dead. Marcus fired. The shot wasn't meant to kill. Instead, it disabled Silthy's weapon and triggered a localized electromagnetic pulse that fried her communication equipment. At the same moment, Colonial Defense Forces emerged from concealment around the council building, having been positioned by Marcus's earlier intelligence. "This is Colonel Sarah Mitchell," came a familiar voice through the ship's communication array. "Ghost 7, it's good to know you're still watching our backs." His former commanding officer had been aware of the threat and had helped coordinate the operation to expose it. The meeting she'd attended was a carefully constructed trap, designed to capture evidence of hegemony involvement in targeting human leadership. "Ma'am," Marcus replied, feeling satisfaction at the successful operation. "The galaxy is about to get very interesting." The evidence package transmitted to the Galactic Council contained irrefutable proof of hegemony involvement in assassination campaigns against human colonies, quantum-verified communications, financial records, and direct observation of government agents coordinating with criminal organizations. Within days, the revelations triggered the largest political crisis in galactic history. The Hegemony's Department of Species Management was disbanded, several high-ranking officials faced criminal charges, and new treaties were negotiated recognizing humanity's right to equal participation in galactic affairs. Marcus Chen returned to Zerion 7, officially resuming his position as mining security chief, while maintaining his reactivated military status for special operations. The galaxy had learned that targeting humans for elimination was a dangerous mistake. In the depths of space, other species took note of what had happened when the galaxy's most feared assassins encountered a human sniper. The lesson was clear. Humanity might be young and seemingly vulnerable, but underestimating them was a fatal error. Ghost 7 was watching, and the galaxy would never be the same.